I think all of us artists, sometimes we go, now why are we here? And what are we doing? And it's just what I do. It's just who I am. I think really I wanted to be an actress. And there was one moment where I wanted to be a folk singer. I think all of us in the 60s wanted to be folk singers. I thought of myself more of a geek, a hippie geek than anything else. And so I ended up at Goucher. There was only one art teacher in the whole school. His name was Hilton Brown. And so what he had us doing was he would set up these still lifes and he'd put colored lights on them and we'd paint still lifes, whether geometric, and I wish I still had some of those. And I'll never forget, he came over to me one day and he said, Eva, did you really see all those colors in that? And I said, yeah, I saw all those colors. He said, that's remarkable. And I thought, painting still lives over and over and then analyzing, he would have us looking at old Renaissance paintings and put tracing paper over it and start analyzing the structures of paintings and how they were composed, and somehow I thought there was more to art than this, that there was something more, and I wanted to go to RISD actually after that, because I was in the Northeast, and my parents said, nope, we're not going to pay for any more fancy schools. You're coming home and you're going to the University of Texas. It was, I think then, $200 a semester, and I ended up at the University of Texas, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me, truly. A great art department, great group of professors, great group of fellow students, pushed me to my max, and I'm forever grateful to Richard Jordan, this art professor I had. I don't even know if he's still alive, but the way he worked with us, he said, okay, everybody go get a 4x5 canvas, and I want you to make a painting. So I was down on the ground stretching 4x5 canvases, and that's pretty big for first time folks. He said, it's your job to find what you want to say and how you're going to say it. These paintings are probably, the dots and stuff are probably the tightest I've ever worked in my life. Even though that painting, or that one right there was done many years ago, so the dots were already there. I've always had characters, and there's always been a narrative running through. I guess at heart I'm a storyteller, and I need characters and things in there, but I'm also a painter, so I like color and the way paint looks. And if you would have told me I would be painting paintings with dots when I was in my 20s, I was doing large, just abstract, more body movement. And I'm starting to go back to that more. You'll see more of that starting to come through, the gestures of painting and blocks of color. Dots are kind of fading, it's literally fading, starting to fade back into the background. So who knows what's going to happen next. I have ideas about images, but then it's a conversation between me and the canvas. It's a dialogue. I think there's certain times in my life where that's more so. This one, I didn't even draw on this one first. I just went right in. I think I'm going to end up doing more of that because I'm more curious, wants to organically come out now, and I have the courage and the time to do that more, just to let things come a little bit. I don't really feel the need to necessarily create finished paintings right now. I have no shows coming up. I have nothing, no deadlines in the mix, and I think there are certain times where I just want to have the freedom of just pushing through. And I think I'll learn something. It's almost like if I can look at it like I'm on sabbatical for a year or two, and taking the time to just learn something might not be a bad idea. You know? Pause. I was part of that whole East Village art movement on the Lower East Side. I was riding my bike way into the 42nd Street, working in one of those flower shops that are open all night long. And so the people that I got to meet and see was a section of New York I would have never met or saw, like like pimps and people coming at 2 a.m. to bring flowers to lovers, and weird people bringing flowers. You know, it was really interesting. If I would have been a sociologist, it would have been a wonderful time but New York was like that for me. It was magical. When I was living in Falmouth, I had this studio, this very space, and then I gave it up and worked in my garage in Falmouth. And I always loved this space. It felt like this was my home, you know, this space. And so somebody else had it for 10 years, and then it became available. It was magic. It was meant to be. So I had this dream. And the dream was these large bots were flagging to me, and the main message of the dream was help, stop, think, and listen. So the help bots were flagging to each other in semaphore language in the dream, and they were semaphoring not to each other, they were semaphoring to us. Do you see what you're doing? Do you see what your technology is doing? Do you see how it's putting you to sleep? Do you see that, yes, there are good things, and the way you're using it is not helping you right now. Things are going terribly awry. Stop. Just stop. So the implication being is we are deaf to our own inspirations and intuitions and knowing that something needs to be done differently. We got them done. They were exhibited at Cove Street. It was the last exhibit, that collection of exhibits before they all had to close down. Yeah, it came down in February, and then everything closed down in March. Yeah. So we were very magic. I think as artists we do have responsibility to make work that either brings joy or opens up our eyes to what else is out there. I tend to be a little bit more, even though you won't know it on the political side, then it's important to me. I have to make art that does push us to at least consider something without banging you over the head. I do like to ask questions. But the idea of magic, this whole thing that's happening to me now, who thought when I had this dream to make these wacky robots that I would end up as an adjunct professor in an engineering program at Brown University, and my pieces would end up there. Who thought, you know? I mean, that's pretty magical. As artists, we have to remember to keep following our own threads wherever they will take us, and rejections are rejections. They don't mean anything. You just have to keep knocking at doors, and that's really important. Don't be afraid to do something that's so outlandish because you just don't know where it's going to take you. Keep working. That's the main thing. Show up. Keep showing up. And put all your little critics on shelves around you somewhere so you'll know where they are, because it's not useful in the end. And have the courage to keep working even in these times. We need you. We need everyone's voices at this point. Yeah, that's what I'd say.